agenda where it's at, Bill.
Guys, welcome to the episode of Into the West Comics. My name is Frank. Sonny is here.
Good to be back. What's up, Frank? How you doing?
Hey, man. That's what I had.
I know.
That's a good one. I like that hat. He said, I know. That's a good one.
Thanks, man. I'm going to add into the collection.
Boom. Hot dog, corn dog. Paul is over here.
Hi. How's everyone doing?
Oh,
I'm here, hanging out,
Yeah,
doing my thing.
What'd he do, baby?
What it do, baby?
Ooh.
over there, I got Brother Marcus. Looking hot.
Hey, thank you. Hey,
Sensual
good
voice.
evening, everyone.
Sultry voice.
Sultry.
Glad to be here.
The sultry sounds of Brother Marcus.
Yes,
In the place to be.
show you right.
And please welcome our special guest. We like to affectionately call him the franchise.
Absolutely.
After completing his amazing run on Action Comics
Yes.
with the annual last month or earlier last month, yeah.
Yes.
He is currently writing The Incredible Hulk, which
Yep.
just seems to be getting better issue by issue.
Oh Lord.
Correct.
Green Lantern War Journal as well has been knocking it out of the park.
Mhm.
Please welcome, we love to spend time with him every time we get a chance, Mr. Phillip Kennedy Johnson.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me back.
What
Been
up,
too
sir?
long.
Happy to. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
appreciate
always.
you.
How's the new year treating you so far?
Pretty okay, making it.
Getting through. Heard that.
Yeah, getting through. Yeah, I got a lot to do, but it's going. But I've actually cut back a little bit because I was just unsustainable. So I cut back a little bit on books,
Nice.
and just kind of getting ready for this big push that's happening later this year. I got some other cool shit coming out later this year, so I wanted to give myself a little space to kind of get ahead on them before they start coming out.
Nice.
Okay.
So,
Hopefully we can get into a little
I'm
bit of
really
that.
excited for you guys to see what's coming.
Yeah,
Ooh.
we're excited as well. Really quick, we want to just do some little bit of housekeeping stuff. We had heard earlier in the week. I mean, everybody, it's in the news. I mean, everything is going on the East Coast about everybody losing power and everybody's okay. Everybody's good. I know you guys.
Yeah,
I think on
yeah,
Tuesday night you guys
we
lost
did lose
power.
but that's okay. Yeah, actually, it ended up not being that cold that day, which was great.
Perfect.
So we did lose power for a bit, but it's fine. I mean, even if we are not the people who would have got really screwed in that situation. Even if we had to just get up and leave, we would have been okay.
That's good.
Oh, that's good.
So it's it all turned out fine. Thanks for asking. It gave me a chance to put down work for a little bit because I really
had
needed
to.
internet and didn't have it. So I put down work and just did some Legos by Lantern Light with the boy, and that was fun.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, he's a big builder. He likes making stop motions and stuff using his Legos, makes little movies.
Dope. That's really cool.
Yeah, so we didn't actually shoot anything that night. It was all dark, but we put together some little sets that he had bought that we hadn't put together yet. So it was just fun. It's kind of like our bro time where we just put stuff
Yes.
together and just kind of catch up on his day. Like I ask him
Yeah.
questions that I don't ask often enough about, who he's playing with most at recess, or what's something that I don't know. I just ask him questions
Yeah, just
maybe
catching up.
just a little more personal than we sometimes get into about what scares him or makes him what's he most stoked about every day. And
That's right.
it just time like that is when we kind of really like open up, and he asked me stuff about me too.
Oh, that's
Like,
good.
sometimes when he's something's obviously bothering him, and I want to know what that is, I find that a way to get him to open up is to tell him something about myself that he might not expect. Like, it's like, well, here's something that makes me scared, or here's something that, when I was your age, here's something that happened to me when that happened. When something like what you're going through and all that. So whenever we have some little activity like that, whether we're on a walk or we're doing archery or we're sparring or whatever we're doing, those are our chances to actually like talk about real shit too. So it ended up being great.
That's rad.
Nice. That's always nice to find, like, kind of like a microcosm of COVID. Yeah, it sucked, but everyone was able to find themselves a little bit in some way or shape or form. Does he, kind of staying on the subject for just a minute, does he realize how cool it is that his dad writes Superman and Hulk yet, or has he not like had that realization?
It's kind of you to say. And I think he actually does really like that. He is very
That's
proud.
cool.
That's sick.
That's awesome.
He starts to.
Has he been bragging at school about it?
Yeah.
Like Henry
course.
Cavill's nephew.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, my
Uncle
my,
Superman.
my uncle Superman.
Yeah, it's not the same as that, but there was a cool day though where the teacher asked me to come in for like career day,
Ah, okay.
Sick.
and so we all came in, and it was like me and probably like 5 or 6 others, and I asked the teacher, I was like, well, my day job is I play trumpet, but I also like write comic books for DC and Marvel. Like what do you want me to talk about?
Mhm.
And
They're like,
and she was like, well, just do it all. Bring your horn, and
Oh, sick.
and then we can talk about, bring some comics if you want to. Just show the whole thing. And like so the other parents came in. They were talking about their stuff. Everyone had something really cool to say. Like there was
That's cool.
one lady was an engineer, and that was awesome. There was a cop came in and talked about his days, and there was a lady who was an attorney, but I saw my son though. And so my son's in a corner, and he was just like, "Fuck yeah, dude!"
so sick.
He was like,
I played a tune on my horn, and I just blew the walls off.
Sick.
And I just wanted to I don't know, I wanted to make Anders proud,
yeah, absolutely.
So I lit him up, and then I had these comics, and they were just so stoked, man. Like
Nice.
it was the best day. I didn't hold back. I was like, I kind of showed off, and because I wanted Anders to feel awesome,
Of course.
Yeah.
And now people kind of ask him about that stuff. Like, do you write too? Like, do you draw a lot? Or like they were all like, he was like a star,
That's sick.
Ah.
and he got to talk about his movies that he makes.
That's really cool.
It's just dope. It was a really fun day, and it made him feel really special, and it just kind of leveled up his understanding of what I do and what it means to people. And his teacher, there's a teacher at school who didn't know that I was the writer of Hulk. He's been reading Hulk off the shelf.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
that's sick.
Yeah,
That's
he's
super
a big
cool.
comics guy, and he's read some of my other shit too. He's
Yeah.
like, "This is you?" What the fuck? And he was so pumped, and he went to Baltimore Con right after that, and Anders was at my booth with me.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
that's cool.
Teacher came by and he made a big fuss, and so now I give that dude books now.
Of course.
That's cool.
so rad.
I like to write my friends into my books sometimes, so I'm gonna write him into Hulk and not tell
dope.
him.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's going to be exciting.
At
That's
some
very
point he'll
awesome.
read it and be like, "Is this what I think it is?"
Yes,
That'll
sir.
that'll really-
Yeah, that's
How
you,
many-
player.
How many Mr. Pats could there be? Like, it'll be
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
That is really cool.
That's rad. I wish I could I don't even know, like to have that bragging right around your group of friends.
You win career or bring your parent to
Yeah,
school.
you
Yeah,
win.
for sure.
You automatically win. for
Yeah,
sure.
that's super cool.
It's not a competition, but he definitely won.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's not, but it is.
Yeah, it's not, but it is. He won.
the other parents. All like legit were all super. Like everyone did an amazing job, and I was like,
I'm
"Damn,
sure,
I gotta
yeah.
actually really do this."
That's cool.
But he was really proud, and it was pretty fun.
That's what matters the most.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of Hulk, what because I've noticed like there's other books that I've read where Hulk is starting to pop up in issues here or there, like She-Hulk, sensational She-Hulk. He's popped in. How are we going to see more of that? Are you in communications with like a Rainbow Rowell and trying to write him or collaborate and have a story kind of like what Chip Zdarsky did with with Punish and Jason Aaron did with Punisher and Daredevil, where they kind of had some loose communication and kind of made their stories kind of kiss a little bit. You know,
I did not talk to the writer directly, but it kind of came down the pipeline through the editors, like, yo, someone was to use Hulk for this other thing. How would you feel about that? And then we just kind of compared notes, like, well, here's what Hulk's going to be doing that month.
Oh, okay.
And we talked about it, and I don't know. I try not to be too precious with that stuff. I mean, if they were going to do something just completely off the wall, that would kind of like break what we're doing, that wouldn't work.
Right.
Okay.
But if it's, as long as the other writer understands the context of what's happening in the main book, I'm totally fine with that. I mean, because we have, very often I have to ask permission for stuff like that too. Like we just introduced Ghost Rider 44, as you guys know, and there is a Ghost Rider house, at Marvel, and I didn't want to just, make up a new thing and not ask anyone, because it does affect their mythos.
Of course.
Right.
So we all have to kind of play nice with each other. The books that you guys are talking about now, like the She-Hulk appearance and all that. Looking back, I do kind of wish we talked a little more going into that one. But generally, I just try to not hinder anyone too much.
Right.
Right.
Because not that many readers are reading like everything and want to make sure it all fits together. I'm not as precious with continuity as some people are, as long as it doesn't utterly break what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, sure. I think all of us at the table can kind of speak for 9 times out of 10, if another character from another book I'm writing ends up in a different book, if that writer does something a little different with that one, or maybe does something continuity breaking, it's comic books. It doesn't really bother me too much, and it's a different writer. So I'm like, this isn't going to affect my enjoyment of the Hulk run. If this is like, if whoever adds this character to their book, if it's like meh, that doesn't affect my enjoyment of whatever the main character's
Like
book
the
is.
bigger picture.
As long as it's not like in the book completely invalidating what's happening in the other one.
That's fair.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember caring more about continuity as far as like wanting costumes to look the same everywhere and wanting the same actor to play everything and just being super precious with everything. But I just don't feel that way at all anymore. Like there's nothing that says all these stories are happening. Like, there are fans that really take the timeline just uber seriously. You know who takes the timeline seriously is Jeremy Adams.
Oh,
Okay. Really? Okay.
He's a
Green Lantern,
huge nerd about the timeline, and like, okay, I'm reading this at like 2 p.m. on Thursday, so this is when this happens. And if I read this other book on Friday and it doesn't line up, I'm gonna get pissed. He doesn't actually get pissed, but he takes it extremely seriously. Sure. And I try not to like ignore that stuff. Right. But I'm also I think more of a long game stuff. I'm not worried about when a book hits the shelf, because after that particular month, people are reading all the stuff in trade, and it's going to be like, here's the War World saga, here's Superman and the Authority. Those are their own stories. I mean, they do tie together kind of, but they're their own thing. Or if somebody's reading all the work of Grant Morrison, they're not, War World saga is not going to be part of that. If they're reading just my War World trade, Superman and the Authority is not part of that. Yep. So if something is like a little bit different, I try to remember the context in which most people are going to be consuming these stories in the long run.
Right.
Exactly. That. And I'm sure kind of going with Jeremy Adams, because you're writing War Journal, which has been fantastic, by the way. And he's writing the Hal Jordan Green Lantern run. And I'm sure you're having to kind of weave in and out with him a little bit at some points of the story. And I was wondering if your experience with writing the Return of Kal-El with Tom Taylor and Josh Williamson and yourself earlier last year, may have even been the year before, kind of has made this a little bit like, what to expect going into having to cross over your run with other writers' runs.
Yeah, that Return of Kal-El thing was a big fat pain in the ass.
I'm sure.
I'll say that. Like that was one case in which the timeline did matter kind of a lot, because we had to think about, at what point it got complicated because of that Batman Superman Authority issue, because that was, they left Earth and were about to sail off and towards Warworld, and that was the same month when Gene Yang writing the Batman Superman book at the time? Or was it?
I don't know if that was the same.
Sorry, it's Greg Pak. Greg Pak was writing
yes.
So that book wrapped up right then, and they were like, we don't have a Batman Superman book. Can you do a Batman Superman Authority thing? They just left Earth, and they're like, yeah, but we, whatever. Let's sell the book. I'm like, fuck, fine. And So then we had to work out like where did they go when they left the alley? When did they go into the ship? When did they have this conversation with Batman? It got kind of muddy. And then when he came back, there was a lot of that same stuff where when does he get his big reunion with John? When does this conversation happen? When does this thing with Lex happen? When does Manchester Black die? It was pretty complicated. And we had to think about the trade, but also what month things were hitting. That particular event, everyone was real uptight about that one. And rightfully so. That was one, because you can't have Superman seeing John for the first time
3 different times.
Over.
Yeah,
Right.
I had a reunion in mind, and Tom had one in mind for his book. And in the end, it felt like, well, and the editor agreed, said that, I mean, Tom's was kind of more important because his book is just all about John.
Yes.
So we left the John reunion out of mind, basically, and just let Tom have that one. And we just did the big Lois thing. And I had to fight even for that. I had to kind of fight even just to have I need him to, I need the Lois beat. That needs to be the end of the War World saga. So we had to kind of weave all that together. And you're right, it is important for the Green Lantern books too, because of what's coming. Like without spoiling anything too much, the books are going to be more connected than they appear.
Okay.
So it does matter that, like in the case of Green Lantern and Green Lantern War Journal, when they hit shelves does matter a little more than some books do.
Interesting.
Right, because a lot of times when you're like reading stuff, it'll be like what was it? I was reading the Beast World Aquaman tie-in, and sometimes there's just an editor's note that's like, hey, this takes place before this issue and in this thing, but it'll be nice to have the 2 concurrent ongoing stories hitting the same point in time or the same event or moment around the same time, and you're reading them concurrently in each book and not having to set yourself back and going, oh, well, I kind of already know what happens because I've already read this one that came out last month. Right. So it's nice that you guys are in contact and tying those all in together.
That's super cool.
Yeah, we talk a lot, man. Jeremy's a great collaborator. We talk like pretty much every week. And
Nice.
Honestly, he's better about it than me too. He'll just call out of the blue, be like, yo, what are you doing with this person? Or, tell me more about what's happening with this beat. And yeah, he's great about it. And sometimes I'll reach out to, because there are some times when I need one of his characters. He's got more of the GLC characters kind of on call. And sometimes I'll reach out and be like, so tell me where a guy is right now. Can I use him? Or
Right.
So that's kind of fun. Yeah, but I love talking to Jeremy. He is a super nerd, man. He just loves comics, loves DC comics specifically, and he's just a joy to work with.
That's awesome to hear. And I think as far as like the contents of your book and asking you about them, I think we all want to start with Action Comics and know what was it like finally wrapping that up. How happy were you with the way it finished up? I can tell you as a reader, that last issue was so cool. It was very cool. The art was fantastic, and bringing Glenn back into it from 1057, that was really satisfying way to end it. And I think I made like a post about it. It just emphasized your understanding of Superman is important mostly because of his impact on other people. And I think that was a very clear all the way through your run with all the stuff it had to weave and tie through, especially when coming back from Warworld. So just how did that come together for you, and how happy were you with the way it wrapped up?
Well, thanks a ton for the kind words, man. I really appreciate you guys reading it. And honestly, it doesn't feel wrapped up. It doesn't feel, not to say that like, oh, I'm not done, but in a shitty sad way. I mean, like, I'm going to do more. Like there's going to be more stuff coming.
I'm sure there's an annual issue or 2 still left in you at somewhere, down the line.
Hopefully more.
Or a little mini series here and there pop in. Yeah.
I don't feel done,
Yeah.
Like I will say, I mean, if I am done, if tragedy strikes and I am done, then I'm very proud of this story. I love tying things together, man. I love that they let me bring in the stuff from that Batman Superman Authority book, the Earth Al Ghul story, and bring that back again. Like just wait long enough until the fans had forgotten about it, and then be like, boom, I didn't forget. That was really fun. I really love Metallo, and I always wanted him to be more complicated than he is, and they let me do that. And
Metallo,
that was hugely satisfying. That told a story that really meant something to me a lot. I'm somebody who, I don't know. I remember these issues from when I was a kid. I'll come back to that beat. There's a thought there. I don't want to.
Don't forget that one.
Yeah.
There's an old Marvel comic that made me that kind of led me to this Metallo story.
Interesting.
But that story matters to me too. But I understand that War Saga made up like the bulk of my run. That's the one I'm going to be remembered for. And if that's the case, I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be prouder of the artists I work with. I couldn't be prouder that I told a story that meant something to me personally, deeply, about human trafficking, about humanity, about how Superman is the best of humanity, about, why we should strive to be what he is. That's a story I'll always be proud of. I'll be proud for my son to read.
Yeah.
And there's stuff in there about being a father and a son that I want my son to read someday and really appreciate. And just couldn't be prouder of it. I mean, I would happily write that story for the rest of my life for free.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I didn't choose, like, they didn't give me I didn't just walk into the DC, temple and pick this, I shall write this book. They asked me to write action. But if they hadn't, if they had given me the choice of what book to write of all their shit, I would have picked Action Comics. That's
super cool.
It's just the greatest honor to write the one that kind of made all the others.
Yeah, that's true.
It carries this weight of responsibility that I will never take lightly.
Right.
As far as the Metallo thing, I do want to mention that. Like, there's I had this story. Somebody asked me recently on a show or an interview or something about what was one comic that impacted me, really a lot, that meant a lot to me and impacted me, going forward. And the one I always talk about is Superman 400. So I tried to think of another one because I mentioned that people who follow my interviews have heard me talk about Superman 400 probably 20 times. But it's like, well, there is this other one actually that I never really talk about. And I went back and I found it and I read it and it kind of doesn't hold up actually. Like I don't need fans to go back and find it and be like, this kind of sucks.
Right.
We all have those. We all have those. Yeah.
Totally. It did mean a lot to me as a kid. I remember it was very impactful back then for reasons I'll explain, but it's also very, it's dated, man. It's a long time ago. And there are elements of the art form that have kind of moved on, just like any other art form. So the story was a Spider-Man Iron Man team up against Blacklash.
Ooh.
And Blacklash, I think he had gone by another name prior to that. What was he, like Whiplash or something?
Is it Whiplash? Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's what I know him
in this
as.
comic, he was going by Blacklash at this point. And he had this long flowing purple cape, and the like a tassel coming out of his head or something lame, and like an electric whip.
Oh,
right?
Yeah,
super intimidating.
Mickey
right?
Rourke.
Yeah, Mickey Rourke.
Oh boy.
But the thing that stood out to me though about that comic, because it was really about him, man, like more so than the heroes. I want to say did that take place in Vegas or am I dreaming?
Oh,
I think it was like Cleveland or some random city. It was like a trade show happening or something.
It's a lot like
no
Vegas.
idea why I was there. But they show up and Iron Man just like flies in for some kind of trade show and he just shows he's like presenting something or he's just like one of the booth babes or something. But this dude is there. He just got out of prison and he's trying to go straight, but the world kind of doesn't let him, and it's his old town, and he shows up and he's trying to get a job, and these jerks that he knew from school back in the day kind of shit on him, and he's kind of driven back to crime, but he goes and visits his mom and she's shitty too and tells him about how disappointed his dad is and blah blah blah. It's kind of a tragedy about this guy that just made a mistake and he keeps trying to fix it and just can't.
Yeah.
And so finally he just kind of throws in the towel and becomes a bad guy again and gets his ass kicked and goes to prison. And even when he's in prison, he's talking about how he's going to he still sees hope for the next thing. He's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy one of those new suits and I'm going to look so awesome. Mom's going to be so proud. And when I put it down, I was like, damn, I'm not used to feeling like this at the end of a comic book.
Right.
Because I was, little, like not little, but I was like probably, I don't know, 8 or 9, I guess.
Right.
And I just remember just feeling feelings I'm not used to. I'm usually like, yeah, giant robot got his ass kicked.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it was just so much more complicated than that. And it kind of made me realize, like, are there bad guys?
Right. There's that gray line in between.
Yeah. It kind of made me think, like, this guy thought he was the hero this whole time or wanted to be.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, honestly, if I had to trace it all back to something, I think that Metallo story kind of came from that, where he's still a bad guy, he's still a murderer, he kills people in the story, but he's got a sister that he loves, and he kind of looks out for her.
Mhm.
And he's sad, and he's angry, and he's protective, and he's loving, and he's also insanely violent. He's got like what you might call shortcomings, but he's also a more complicated, more real kind of person.
Yeah.
And to me, that just made a more compelling bad guy and a much more compelling story.
Yeah,
So, anyway, I'm
complex
glad I got to
characters.
tell that story. I whenever I see a one-dimensional villain, I kind of make a little note in my mental ledger, like we've got to make this guy more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Rafa Sandoval has done. He's played a huge part in like wrapping up this final arc with what you're able to do with action. I mean, his
art is beautiful.
It's beautiful artwork. It's a great pairing.
Right.
I think for you guys working together, everything that Nick Klein lends to the horror and violent aspect of Incredible Hulk, I think Rafa Sandoval really captures the spirit and overall, I don't want to say intimidation, but just Superman's presence.
The presence.
Yeah, absolutely.
That lends
Yeah.
really well to what you're writing on paper, and I think that it's a really good pairing.
Yeah, I was gonna say a really good.
Him and
combo there.
Montos on Green Lantern War Journal too.
Yeah, he's doing the same thing. Yeah, Montos, exactly. You're right. He really captures the spirit of what those guys do and what they are. But yeah, Rafa came to. You think it was San Diego, or I can't remember if it was San Diego or New York, but Rafa was there. I think it was New York. Well, yeah, because that's when they announced that I was leaving Action, and Jason was coming on. So Jason was on the panel. I was there. Josh was there. Rafa was there, and Rafa lives in Spain.
Okay.
And his English is fine. He can get by, but it's not. He's not. When he's actually working, he has this app that he primarily uses, and it's not for him to like speak in public. It's just for him to like read emails. So he spoke, but he was very nervous to speak, and he's not really. He wasn't expecting to speak, and so Josh and I kind of like we were both like on each shoulder, like what Rafa's saying is blah blah blah. We kind of jump in, and make him feel good, and kind of fluff him up, and be like, Rafa's so great.
That's cool.
But I wish the audience could hear what he was trying to articulate regarding what Superman means to him. He has such a beautiful vision of what Superman is and what he means.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish people could see that expressed, could hear that expressed in what he's saying, because it's so clear on the page. Like that, the opening of issue, it might have been 1057,
With
the one where
Glenn.
where you see Clark as a journalist interviewing Nora Stone.
Yes.
Oh.
I just reread that. Yep.
There's the opening where he talks to Glenn on the girder in the sky, and then he flies off to work, and that's we got like the opening credits kind of thing. And I told Rafa that I wanted to feel like the opening credits of one of those old Richard Donner movies, and he added these little film strip things in the gutters between the panels that make it look like you're watching an actual like film, play out.
Yeah.
And I asked Paul, our editor, like, I really want to split up
That's Paul?
I want to split up the credits where it's just like a couple of names per panel. He's like, can't do that. We got to put it all in one big block. I'm like, why? You got to put me in fucking comics jail? Like, I want to feel like a movie.
Right.
And I don't ask for a lot of stuff. Also, what's that fight on in the background? Sorry, somebody's watching UFC back there. What is that?
No,
I think it's it's one champ. Yeah, it's a
It's
commercial
an ad
for one championship.
the one
Yeah,
championship. So.
it's gonna be on Prime.
Because like someone's.
I think it's a
getting their ass
basketball
kicked.
game that's actually playing. It was a commercial.
Yeah, we got the Thunder on right now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm excited for the Strickland fight. If you can't tell.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. I'm
It's 27th, right?
yeah. Not to get we
20th?
It's the
Oh,
20th.
20th.
yeah. Quan and I
Get it
just
right,
a
Frank.
quick tangent. Our
No.
friends with Danny Davis, who was the striking coach in corner. He's actually my kickboxing coach. So I'm like extra invested in Strickland as a champion now. So it's super cool to see him doing that. But anyways, back to Rafa and the film
Sorry.
strip.
Comics.
Was I saying before? Violence got me off track.
Film strip. credits Donner movie.
Yeah. So I wanted like a couple of names per panel, so it feels like the opening of a TV show or a movie. And I don't push the envelope that often on various things. Usually, if it's I usually try to be try to be a good soldier and be respectful of the editor's notes usually. But this one, I was like, this is going to be really cool if you let me do it. And Rafa was in it all, like just both feet. And he was so on board. Man, that guy's just so game and just so ready to try stuff. And just an amazing collaborator. I've been so unbelievably spoiled with artists. The way he uses blur sometimes, like he uses speed lines as people do, but he uses blur too in ways that make it look even more badass, more dynamic. I just love the way that guy works. This perfect for a Superman book.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we wanted to know, what are some of the next things that you have coming up that you can tell us about? I saw you tweeted, it might have been even today, someone had posted some art of, I don't even remember what it was, but you commented and you were like, me, this artist, and somebody else, Last of Us comic, make it happen.
Ooh.
So,
Skylar Partridge.
Yeah, there you go. So, what can you tell us about what you may have coming up, or things you're hoping to do? Obviously, more Superman stuff, or even stuff like that, like a Last of Us comic.
Oh, that would be
sick. I'm not doing that to my knowledge, but I did kind of put it out there. I think I would crush the fuck out of that book. And
yes, dude. Oh, yes.
I mean, I love that game, love the show.
Same.
Yeah,
I'm
that
playing
show
it
was
right
good.
now.
Well,
I played that first game over and over again. I played the second one exactly once.
It's hard.
An emotional
It's emotional game.
It's a lot. It's an investment, that's for sure.
It's a lot. I mean, the remaster is about to come out, so I guess I'll play it again. But damn, I'm not ready.
Yeah, dude. It's an emotional toll.
But yeah, you do such a good job of introducing mysticism into your books. Like, just look at everything you've written. And I think a Last of Us comic or anything like that. Like, I personally want you to write the Justice League comic that will eventually come back. I'm sure that if
been
you know
campaigning
that
for that for 2 years.
Yeah, I'm sure that if you know that you're writing that, you can't say anything. So I'm going to take your silence as a yes. That's what you're writing.
Well, I need to up my promotion game. I'll say that. Like, I know there's this whole song and dance you got to do as a writer, and I don't know. I just don't care about all of it the way I should, I guess.
Like to hear it.
Like I want to make the great books.
Yeah.
You know, I want to make books that feel like art, that are really fun and exciting for kids, but also have things to say to adults. Right. I try to remember, I try to see all the 50 demographics of people that are going to be reading my book all in the same room. Like, all of them have to love it. It can't be just the kids.
Right.
It can't be just the guys who vote the way I do. It can't be just the guys who can't be just the comic skaters, but also them. Like, I want everyone who reads this book to love it.
Right.
Right. And I mean, I don't know. I guess that makes it sound like I'm pandering to everyone, but I'm not. I mean, I try to keep in mind something like Superman. Like, I feel like I get the mission statement of a Superman book, and I want all of them to walk away from it feeling like $1 million.
You just want to be relatable all across the spectrum. You want to have something for everybody and not feel like you're just targeting a certain audience. Whether it be kids, whether it be adults, whether it be certain age groups. You want to keep those universal messages strong and alive in your work, and that's commendable, because not everyone can do that. To me, that's a talent that I don't know. I don't know if you can cultivate that, or if it's something you you learn through other life experiences. I'm not sure, but
I think you do a great job of presenting both things as possibilities. Like the line in Action Comics where Midnighter wants Superman to save them and not everybody else, or his significant other, I can't remember his name for some reason off the top of my head. Yeah, and he wants him to go save him, and he's like, "What? We're not important." He's like, "Well, not more important than everybody else." And in that line, in that conversation, you do both things.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I want to tell stories that matter, and that have like real things to say that matter. I don't want to say on their face like, "Here's my," here's my manifesto, and I want them to feel it. I don't want to just tell them slavery is bad, or don't be a Nazi.
Right.
Everyone knows that those
Don't
things
be.
are bad, you know.
Right.
But I want them to walk away from the story feeling it. I want them
Right.
to internalize it in them through like
definitely
subtext
shows.
and making them giving them characters that they care about they might not know in their own real life.
It shows.
So what I don't do enough of is social media. I need to actually.
No, that's fine. That's perfect.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
the chat is going crazy. You mentioned The Last of Us, and now that's everybody can't stop talking about it in the chat now. So as soon as you mention something like that, I'm sure it just it
Brendan
blows
put a
up on
curse on us.
I did get asked by a game studio to write a comic tie-in for a game.
Oh.
very cool. Very cool.
I'm tempted to do it, but I'm just so, I don't know, man. I just like, I had to do this thing where I tend to take on too many books. I've been doing 5 for a long time, and that's with a day job and a son. And I'm trying not to fall on my face in any of the different things I'm doing in my life.
Right.
Right.
And now I'm down to 3, and that's I can like sustain 3. And I'm gonna be back up to 4 here pretty soon. And I'm trying to be very deliberate with like, here's when this book ends, so I can jump on another one.
Yeah, now I'm like,
so-
you're dancing around this this topic, and me and Paul are like, so what is the project?
There's a creator owned though that was supposed to be this year. Is that right?
I'm doing a creator on this. Yeah, I mean,
Oh.
actually, today I just got the first drop of pages.
Ooh.
Oh.
Like finished black and white pages. I'll I'll
Okay.
illicitly show you some stuff later.
We're not on live.
Like the first half of the first issue is in the can. And I've written a couple issues past that.
Okay.
That's
But
exciting.
yeah, it's just a mini series, but it'll be out this year.
Okay.
Very exciting.
There's also a couple of big 2 things coming that I'm mad excited about.
Oh, I was waiting for
okay.
something like that
Okay.
to start coming up. I want just
Yeah.
like a little tidbit.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
lot of
no,
news. Yeah.
people ask me like, so how do you feel like being done, never writing Superman again? I'm like, well, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I knew it.
Yeah, it wasn't like a rite of passage.
Man.
Like you were like, oh, okay, I did this. I earned my stripes. I can move on. It was kind of like I actually dug it. Let me continue.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Superman's my religion. Superman means a lot to me.
Job's not done.
I teach my son who the bad guys are through telling him about current events.
Nice.
But I tell him who the good guys are, who the good
Right.
guys should strive to be with
Right.
Superman stories.
So
Either ones that exist or new ones that I write just for him.
as far as like transition, this actually goes with another book that you've written that I'd like to touch on maybe in a little bit. But so what kind of pass down did you give Jason for the for action? Is he going to continue sort of your the seeds that you've planted in your run, or
Good
is he going to
question.
go in another
No,
direction?
Jason has a very contained story he's telling.
Okay.
He's not like the ongoing guy.
Okay.
So he's doing 3, I believe it is 3 double-sized issues.
okay.
They're doing this Superman Superstars thing this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be Jason for a few months, and then Josh is doing a crossover thing. Josh has been building up to this Brainiac thing he wants to do,
Oh, okay.
and the next quarter is going to be like a Superman action kind of crossover that deals with that. And then
Okay.
there's a couple other creators coming on later in the year doing their own things, and those are also contained stories. So I don't
Okay.
think they even know who's going to be the next like ongoing action writer.
Oh,
Interesting. I was under the assumption it was going to be Aaron. I did not
Right.
I thought they were billing Tim's and Aaron as the Superman superstars, and that was going to be the
It's
ongoing.
just gonna be the thing.
But it did not occur to me, or I didn't see it, that it's going to be a few issues of them and then a few issues of
Yeah.
somebody else. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
they're calling it Superman Superstars, and so it's going to be. I don't think they've announced the other ones. They may have announced the third one, but I'm not sure enough to say it out loud. I'll get my.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Nope. Fair enough.
We're not going to get you in trouble.
But-
So when you start writing Justice League, is it gonna be like Superman centered, or do you want Batman? We're just talking hypothetically. It's just you and I.
just
Do
you and I
you want to? If you want to make it hypothetically a Superman led team, or would you want it to be a Batman thing? If that's what you were doing, hypothetically, Justice League. All
right.
You'll be
So we're
writing
just-
later.
We're just talking. Here.
Hypothetically,
We're just talking here.
it's just you and I, Phil.
We're just talking here.
So I'll say I'm going to say definitively I'm not on the Justice League book to my knowledge yet.
Okay.
So, but however, as you guys know, I do love mythology. I love world building. I love religions and ancient texts and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Epic poetry and all these things. I love the idea of the DC Comics pantheon. Like, to me, the Justice League kind of sums up the difference between DC and Marvel mythologies. How the Marvel stuff is all like the world outside your door kind of stuff.
Right.
Where DC is about gods among us.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man is a guy. He's a I know Ultimate just came out and he's not a kid anymore, but the Spider-Man that I know and love is a teenager just trying to get by, or a college kid trying to make rent. Yeah. He's always struggling. Yeah. He's just struggle. And I assume there'll be some of that in this upcoming book too. Mm-hmm. He's like, the thing with him is can't but must. Like, he's always a little underpowered, or in order for Spider-Man to win, Peter Parker has to lose.
Yeah.
It's complicated. It's books falling out of backpacks, and that's kind of the approach to Marvel. That's why it also makes them so fucking awesome.
Right.
The thing that makes DC awesome is that it's about gods. It's a modern day mythology. They are the descendants of the great pantheon, straight up.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Norse mythology that got passed down orally, which is why there's all these stories in Norse mythology that one that have been lost, but even the ones that haven't been lost, very often they contradict each other kind of a lot. There are theories that the character Frigg just came out of an accidental gender swap of one of the other gods. It's all just all these clumsy mistakes that led to all these different versions of things, very much like continuity stories, contradictions, continuity. It's the similarities between modern mythology and comic books, and like the stories of Superman, Batman, Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, are so similar to the stories that people tell of Thor and Loki, and how Loki fucked around and took Sif's hair, and then they had to get it back, and there's a big adventure as a result, and that's how the dwarves made this and this and this. Mm-hmm. It's just, it's like reading comic books.
Yeah.
So, I love that, and I know that shit. Like, that's
you're like, that's my jam.
Yeah. Okay.
That is 100% my jam. The first things I ever read to my son when he was in the fucking womb were the ancient texts of, like, Beowulf and the Fall of Arthur and Finn and Hengist that Tolkien translated himself.
Yeah.
Like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. And I want to make a Justice League mythology that's just like that, man. I want to tell a story. I want to show a story where people have got plenty of dark side in their life. And it wouldn't necessarily be a dark side story, but I don't want to see a dark side story where he gets punched in the fucking face. I want to see dark side that is like the concept of shadow.
Yeah.
How do you fight the concept of decay, or the concept of corruption, where, like, he's not just a guy sitting somewhere.
Right.
He is elusive. A god. He is a manifestation of an immortal concept that no living thing could hope to oppose. Dude. So how do you punch that in the face? That's what the Justice.
Like, how do you punch that guy?
So that's kind of what I've been building to with the Olgrin stuff, like the Wrath of Olgrin that we started telling in the Warworld saga. I'm not done with that fucking story. I want to tell a story about Olgrin, God of Gods, and how it ties into that's the Old Testament, and the fourth world is the New Testament, and it's all the way through the DC universe. And I want to bring it all together. Like, why don't we see more of Orion? Why don't we see more of Highfather? Darkseid.
Darkseid. When you said, when I remember that issue where Metron shows up, and I was like, oh my God, it's about to go down. Because anytime Metron shows up, that means there's going to be something major.
Yeah,
there's going to be
something's
some event,
popping off.
Something's happening, because he only shows up when it's about to go down. Him, Mr. Mixaplick, all those guys start, and then we're gonna have this huge like universe shattering event. So when I saw that and Orion, I love Orion because he has a temper like me. So
you writing some dialogue with Orion, Darkseid, Calabac, Desaad. Come on.
Oh man, yeah.
Come on, man.
That's tasty.
I love they let me bring in Constantine and the demon and all that to that and Bloodwind to that story. That was really fun. I was like, man, I could write in the demon is so fun.
It's so fun for sure, dude.
I love it. I love it. So hopefully more of that. There was a story I did. If I had more time before this event, there's a story that I wanted to do in which Superman and Constantine would have a much longer, like an arc where they're like teamed up.
That would have been cool.
Where like there's somebody comes to Earth and they're expecting like a King Arthur Merlin kind of team up to face them, and instead all we have now is Superman and Constantine.
Oh wow.
And I thought that would be really fun. There's this still, and the demon would be part of it too. And there's this whole other thing. Hopefully, I'll still be able to come back to that.
I'm sure.
But anyway, I have hopes. But there are other stories that are already very much underway that will come out later, and I can't wait for you to see. It's going to be so epic.
Right. So there's another book that doesn't get a whole lot of attention that I think a lot of people, it may have gotten buried under the litany of titles we've had all last year. It's just been amazing. But 007, James Bond, you wrapped that up. It was a 6-issue series, and I wanted to know, like, what was that like? What was that experience? Because it seemed when I think of an ongoing series, I think of it just continuing on, maybe past maybe 12, 15 issues, what have you. But it stopped at 6, and we were talking about earlier about self-contained stories and things like that, and that seems to be their pattern at Dynamite as far as James Bond is concerned. So how was that? I mean, you actually managed to get 6 issues. Most of the stories have been like 3 to 4, and then a whole new creative team takes over, and now they
ended up giving me 12. There was a 6-issue 007 series, and then there was a follow-up series called 007 for King and Country.
Oh, yes.
Yes. But it's a different title, but it's really the same 12 issues. I mean, it's the same. It's one big story, really. They just kind of framed it differently when they sold it. Okay. It was going to be 6, but it was selling well, and they really wanted to do more. And I did not have the bandwidth at all. I was like, I'm making a mistake. I made a mistake when I first said yes. I really wanted to do it. It seemed like it'd be really fun. Yeah. So I said yes to 6. Mm-hmm. And then I thought of a way that we could end the first 6 that would lead into another 6. I was like, actually, this is a way better ending. Damn.
Yeah. I actually, I'm so accustomed to it changing so much. I forgot that. Yeah, you did. It was like 2 different titles, but 1.
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, that's why people missed it. I think it was they did change it up in the hopes to kind of give it a boost. But yeah, it is 1 story, not 2.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I tons of action. The art was excellent. It was very true to the 007, zeitgeist that we know of. Now to that also, did you have any transition with the upcoming art with the artist or writer with that?
I didn't talk to Garth. I know Garth has his own story to tell in that one. So he and I actually did not interact much at all about that. I have met Garth, and we've hung out a little bit. I'm not sure he would remember.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Garth is great. I like him a lot.
Yeah, Garth is great.
Brendan was over here in the chat, and he's asking if you had the next character. What's the next character PKJ would like to write or wants to tackle, and why is it Daredevil?
It's not Daredevil, but that would be fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah, it would be.
Daredevil. Yeah, at some point, I think you need to do Daredevil. It almost seems like it's tradition for all the great the great writers, the great creators to touch on Daredevil a little bit. Or Spider-Man, or both.
You're definitely in that conversation for sure.
Yeah,
man.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool. They're both great characters. Man,
especially with the mythos stuff, the religion stuff.
Right, exactly. That conflict does make him very appealing. Actually,
You're like, now that I think about that.
Yeah.
I recently did sorry, you just mentioned Spider-Man, so let me just say I did the city of Cleveland brought me up for this. There's an event called Superman's Cleveland that they did, that the faculty at this one college did, that they put on at the Cleveland Library and other places in town. There's this great shop in town. I want to say it's Carol and Bob's. But it's a great mom and pop comic store. And at the end of the signing there, we went to dinner, like just a couple doors down, and there's this one. Well, there's some Spider-Man fans, of course, in the comic store, and one guy's like a hell of a fan. And he was like, "Would you ever want to do Spider-Man?" I'm like, "Fuck no, man." and he was like, "Why?" And I had to confess, like, I don't know. There's a couple of stories I've seen. Whenever I pick up the story, it just kind of doesn't speak to me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up.
You ain't the only one.
I thought I was telling him. I thought I was telling him why I didn't want to write Spider-Man, but by the end, I found myself kind of like, I heard like, you know, I found myself kind of giving like a little speech on like holding my flag and like standing on the hill talking about what Spider-Man means to me and what it should be and how I would do it. And by the end, I was like, do I want to write Spider-Man? Like, what just happened?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Just the stuff, the can't but must thing.
Yeah.
And the idea of seeing him struggle and like, I don't want to see him like, anyway, I don't want to get into all that. But I do have stronger feelings about Spider-Man than I thought I did.
Interesting. Interesting.
Reasons why there have been some stories. Like, man, you gotta revere the melody when you play an old standard. You got to keep the melody to the fore.
Right.
That's a thing that Thelonious Monk used to say when Thelonious Monk, the great jazz piano player and composer and improviser. He would always tell people, revere the melody. And like when you're writing Superman, you need to fucking remember what the melody is. Like what the importance is of that story, like what you're trying to say. And Superman is a unique responsibility and a unique weight to carry that I take extremely seriously. But I mean, Hulk has a weight too. It's just very different.
Right.
There's also a very important theme to Hulk that I'm trying to tell. Same thing with Green Lantern, with John Stewart. Man, John Stewart is a story there that to me matters a great deal. It's not as, I don't think people know it as well as something like Superman, but anyway.
Yeah, he's not written as much. That's my kind of, you know, gripe, kind of like, you know, I'm kind of bummed by that. No one has really attacked his narrative enough, you know.
Whose narrative? Sorry.
John Stewart. It's always either Hal or Kyle Rayner. It's usually one of the, you know, ones that it's more action associated. So it's usually Kyle or Hal. But no one really takes it. It's almost like writers are afraid to, like Superman. They're kind of afraid to attack someone who's
intimidating.
Who's very, very straight and narrow, very by the book, very good. You know, not a flawed, not really a flawed hero. So that can be, if a character's too perfect, it almost makes it kind of hard to. It seems like it's difficult to kind of write for something compelling. You know, like Doctor Strange.
You know, to write on, and in part because he is an extremely virtuous character.
Yes,
but he's not perfect exactly. He's kind of fighty. He's kind of like, I dare you.
Yeah,
in a way that Superman's not. You know, like Superman will, you know, Superman's the one who trashed Metallo, who extended his, you know, biokinetic aura in this gigantic thing and obliterated Metallo, and then helped him up and put him back together again. It's like, okay, now you're not going to kill my kids, so let's go get your sister. But now I'm going to help you.
Right.
And John Stewart's like, I'm going to hit you one more time.
Right. That's right.
You know, like he's not afraid to like trash talk, you know, in the middle of a fight a little bit in the way that soldiers do.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like there's this thing that some, like when service members are about to fight, very often one of them will be a higher rank than the other, and they'll the rank these days in the regular camouflage that we wear most days, there's like the rank is like a Velcro thing that goes right there, and they'll take it off, throw it down on the ground, like, let's fucking do this. And like throwing down your rank is like I'm not hiding behind my rank. Let's fight.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's something about that act that just screams John Stewart to me. Like, I'm not afraid. I don't need my mask.
Yeah.
I don't need my rank.
Nothing.
I'm gonna screw you up.
Let's scrap.
You know, there's something about him just being like aggressive like that, but also super virtuous. He's driven by duty.
Right.
More than anything. And then that's kind of what this book is about, like his duty to his family, to his mother. And his duty to his core that is no longer the core he remembers. And so when we're going to see how between the Green Lantern book and the Green Lantern War Journal book, we see what happened to the Corps and how the United Planets took power and why John's no longer there.
Yeah.
But he got to a point where he's like, I think it's the time for me to step away.
Right.
You know, I have more life to live. This is not the Corps that I remember. My mom is dying. She needs me.
Yeah.
That's where his duty lies now. So he's got to go home and figure out how to fight things he can't shoot at, and that's hard for him.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
What's your status with the Dawn of DC stuff? So, because there's been a lot. I used to take pride in knowing and staying on top of this stuff, but there's there's all these changes.
Stuff.
Yeah, there's so many changes. So, like for example, Green Arrow, I hear it's now ongoing. It was originally supposed to be like just a limited series. Is War Journal, is Hal Jordan's book, are these all ongoing now, or what's your status with that?
Let's see, what can I safely say? I like this show a lot. It's probably my favorite show to come on to. I'll say that.
Okay.
So I do talk a little too freely on here.
That's a compliment
Fair.
taken. Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Probably, I'll go ahead and do that again one more time here. So I don't know exactly how many issues I'm planning on, just because of bandwidth, because of these other books that are coming up now.
Right.
Like,
Sure.
The creative teams, and I am a resource of DC. I'm also a resource at Marvel. Like the people the writers and artists and everyone else who make the books, the editors, everyone. These are all resources that they need to make the books come out.
Right.
Right.
And very often they move resources around,
Right.
whether to bring attention to a new thing or because of where fans seem to be responding better. Like it's all a very fluid kind of spreadsheet.
Gotcha.
So because of this book that I'm doing soon, I will say that the War Journal book is not going to be ongoing per se, like
Okay.
not ongoing the way people are used to
Right.
thinking that word.
Continuous. Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, I hope it will go. I imagine it will probably go. If I had to guess, and this is not a confirmation, I'm going to guess it'll go 12 issues.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
Sounds about right.
There's a story there I could probably tell in 10,
Mhm.
but it's because of what's coming right after that, where the date is a little bit fluid, like when it's going
Okay.
to end. And even then, if it doesn't necessarily mean it'll end, it's possible that it could continue with another writer, I guess.
Okay.
But there is a very finite ending for the story I have planned.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because
So-
I mean, it was just it seems like a perfect example would be Poison Ivy. When I was reading Poison Ivy, that was originally solicited as just a limited series. I think it was supposed to go maybe 8
G. Willow
issues.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that was
Supposed
great.
to
It
go
was like a 6 or 9 limited
6 or 9.
issue,
It
I
was
think.
something like, and it's great.
It blew up.
And it blew up, and now we're on issue like 18
Yeah.
or something. And I'm like, oh my god, I didn't have this
She
in the
kills
budget.
it, man.
Yeah.
That's
Her
it.
Hunger and
Yeah.
Dust book is great.
Yeah, so
Um,
that was why I
Ooh,
was asking, because
I got to hang out with Willow one time, and,
that's
and
cool.
she was very cool. There was like a big Vertigo panel, there was a horror at DC panel or something.
Oh,
Like it was
okay.
might have been right when the Hill House stuff was ramping up.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
okay,
So I guess it was, I can't remember if it was all Black Label stuff or it was some regular line DC stuff too. But Joe Hill was on the panel, and me and Willow and some other people.
Old Stephen
Orange
King's son,
Sack was
actually.
there.
Mm.
What's that?
I said that's Stephen King's son, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But he changes his name because he doesn't want
He
to
doesn't
be
want it,
like
yeah,
he
of
doesn't.
course.
He wants his stuff to sell on its own.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when he first started writing, he tried to be more like, I mean, legit's the wrong word because Stephen King is fucking billionaire or whatever.
Yeah.
But he didn't want to just do the stuff that his dad does.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to be like, I'm going to be a legit writer. I'm going to be a real writer, kind of a thing. Somebody who wins this other kind of award, not Hugo's or Bram Stoker awards, but other stuff that makes me feel like I should wear a bow tie. And he just didn't love it.
Yeah.
Like it didn't love it the way that he wanted to. And I'm not going to say he wasn't good at it. And that's to hear him talk about it. He made it sound like he saw a
Right.
very limited success. And I have no idea if that's true or if he just didn't like it. But at some point he wrote something that was more, I'm going to write something fucking awesome
Right.
that I like. And it ended up being a story much more like in his dad's vein.
Was it
And-
Lock and Key? Is that what
And it was awesome.
That, yeah.
Yeah,
it
no,
might have been.
I-
yeah.
Great,
I
dude.
think it was, I don't know which book it was, but it was a prose novel. Might have been Horns.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it was I think Horns might have been his first.
Yeah, no, I
finished-
think you're right because I
published
think
novel.
yeah.
I don't know if that he didn't actually name the story when he told me that he did not name the book. And I don't know if maybe he's written other shit that didn't actually make it to, maybe it was like super small press, or maybe it was a short story, or I don't know, but that's when he started really seeing success, is when he started writing stuff that he just loved.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
It's usually the best outcome.
So I'm kind of glad you mentioned something about Vertigo, because I wanted to. Matthew in the chat brought a Black Label and the possibility of you not necessarily Etrigan, but writing an Etrigan series for Black Label and anything else like that. Have you ever thought of what you would do with that, or has the opportunity ever come to you in regards to?
No, I would love to. That'd be really fun. I don't know how well it would sell. The thing about comics that kind of sucks is that this is commercial art and storytelling. The thing has to sell to exist. It's like the joining of art and commerce, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you can't just make the thing because it's great and make 10 cents and be like, I did it. It needs to actually sell to continue.
Yeah.
And when they're figuring out what books to make, if we're talking like big two, if we're talking like licensed companies selling books about their licensed characters,
Sure.
they have like these sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Sleepy time. Have, oh my God, projections of like what they expect a book to sell
Ah,
based on creative team, based on the character, based on time of year, whatever. I don't even know all that goes into it. Based on like recent trends in the industry, they have projections of what they expect to sell. And I suspect that an Etrigan book, unless there was some rock star artist attached, like if it was me and Jock, I think it would do very well.
Mm.
Or
you just spoke
me
it
and,
into the universe.
Yeah.
You just did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
what's somebody else? Somebody else would like. Who would crush an Etrigan book?
Lee Bermejo, maybe.
Yeah, he would.
Doug Mankey,
Federici.
yeah, Federici.
Federici for sure.
Yeah.
And you got the connection
Yeah,
there already.
I kind of want it to be messier than that.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Like what about
Todd Knock?
Liam Warren Johnson?
Liam Sharp.
Oh, Darren Warren
Warren
Johnson.
Johnson,
Yeah.
Liam Sharp. Jesus.
Liam Sharp would be
Dude.
dope.
Oh, Liam Sharp. Yeah. Let's not
That's
forget
it.
him. Yeah.
The
Talking
stuff
it all
that
into
Liam
existence.
Sharp did last year with the Green Lantern stuff. Was it last year or the year
Oh.
before?
It's been several years.
Yeah,
He's-
it was great.
That was him and Grant Morrison. That's
That
been a
was
minute.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's Paul's
that-
book.
yeah, I love that one.
No, Liam Sharp is the choice.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So who said that? Was it Paul?
Sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's the choice.
And to make it like Black Label, so you can kind of have a
Oh.
little more creative
Yeah,
liberty
well,
to it. You know,
little
maybe make
darker.
it either extended or add some more adult, themes to it.
Liam's art feels like you're in a dream when you're looking at it. It's so weird.
Mhm.
Yeah.
like an illustrated novel, like an illustrated fairy tale about like St. George and the Dragon or something.
Yeah.
Like it's got this really beautiful style. He just puts way too much. I mean, he's not as slow as you would expect either. Like for all the detail that's on that page, I'm told he's actually not unusually slow, but it does take time to do detail like that.
Sure.
Anyway, that would be incredible. I'd love to do a story like that. I've got this other creator on that is not yet coming out, but I need to make this thing, man, because I'm dying to tell the story. It's a story about child soldiers in post-apocalyptic Camelot.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
It's called, in my mind at least, it's called War Child with
okay.
E at the end. And it's about these. What it's really about is child soldiers in Africa. I mean, it's underneath all of it. It's like what it's like to be a child soldier and what they go through and how you heal someone like that. But in the story, it's about these, like this village that gets raised by the forces of Mordor on their way to Camelot to make war, and they take all the women and the kids and everyone of fighting age and enslave them, make them fight. So these kids they become child soldiers, and 2 years later, you see the Battle of Camelot, where they're all going, where Camelot's falling, and both sides are annihilated. Camelot's gone, but the bad guys are gone too. And then there's these kids like, fuck, what do we do now? And they just trying to find their way home. And now magic is dying throughout England. It's all like the old world of fairy is dying, and now it's becoming like the Dark Ages. and so they're kind of, it's like Mad Max Camelot.
Oh, dude. Yes.
Fire Guy Ryan was mentioning this in the chat. What about Martin Simons? Working him with like that edgier kind of art. Have you seen the stuff he's done with the Dracula stuff with
Yeah.
Tynan? It's haunting, dude.
Martin Simons is great. Yeah, we do conventions under the same like banner. He's with Scott's Collectibles 9 so we've hung out a little bit. Yeah, Martin's amazing.
I think he came to Amazing Con that one year.
He was here.
I think he's been here before with Tynan when Tynan was here. That the
you said Tynan, not Tinian. What?
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
We learned that because of him when he did a panel and he introduced himself.
Yes.
And we said, that's how you say it.
That's how you say it.
And we had it on tape, so we just kept playing it so we remember
Right.
how to say it right.
Right. Yeah. I'm big on names. I'm like, you know what? If it's your name, I want to pronounce it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Whether it's a foreign name or not. I don't want to, Americanize it or any of that. I want to give you your proper noun some respect. So I'm big
I was
on
hanging
that.
out with a friend, another creator at like BarCon after a con somewhere, and he said something about David. I mentioned David Pepos. And I said his name, and the other guy whose name I cannot tell you who said this because he'd be really embarrassed. But he gave me all. He's like, it's Pepos, and he gave me so much shit about it. Legit ridiculed me, and I was like,
My bad.
It's weird that you're taking this so seriously, but also you're wrong. and we went back and forth, and I'm like,
yeah,
hey. Send me a voice memo with your just say your last name for me into your phone and send it to me. He goes, so I get a text that says Pepos.
Yeah.
You're like,
not Pepos, not Pepos.
And I still text that to that dude.
That's great.
That is awesome. Oh man.
Once you think about it, it would have been fine.
Right.
Anyway.
That's awesome.
Anyway, good story.
I'm here for the stories, man. I'm sitting here like, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So here's another question. So outside of action, the current stuff that you're doing with War Journal, if there's a story that you've done that you think has been underappreciated, you may have answered this before in the past, I don't know. But is there something that any person new to your writing would you recommend that they would seek out of your work, like an early work, whether it be indie, big two, like something that means something to you that you're like, yeah, you should, if you want to know my approach or my passion, here, check
What
this
would it
out.
be?
Yeah.
That's kind of you to ask. The two, well, I guess there's, I've got a few, if you don't mind me rattling off a couple. There's,
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
an old Craterone I did called Warlords of Appalachia that I'm very proud of.
Oh, okay.
I wanted that book to be longer. I was still very much a no-name, and Boom's like promotions team was not quite what it became, and the book didn't really find its audience. It was greenlit as a 4-issue mini, and the artist was Jonas Scharf, who's gone on to see great success. He's currently very active at Marvel and other places. Beautiful artist. I'm very proud of that book. And that came out October 2016, and it was about the divisions in America at that time. It's a world in which it takes place after the Second American Civil War, and Kentucky's become an occupied nation in the U.S. borders.
Oh,
it's like the Afghanistan of the American South, and it's occupied by U.S. troops. It takes place about a generation in the future. So there's some light sci-fi. There's like lots of drones everywhere and all that. But there's also in the context of like the sticks of Kentucky, like the hills.
Oh, wow.
And this dude, like this mechanic and former National Guardsman, just kind of falls ass backwards into a revolution and becomes the first feudal warlord of the Appalachian Mountains.
Oh, wow.
And it's really fun. It's really about American politics.
Sold.
It's about what a world under Trump might look like. This is back when nobody really expected him to win. And there's stuff in there that I think you guys would find pretty haunting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That went on to happen in real life in some form.
Oh, okay. So kind of prophetic in nature a little bit.
Yeah, sadly, yes. So yeah, Warlords of Appalachia. Among the big two, I'm very proud of my first DC book, which was an Aquaman annual.
Oh,
That
okay.
turned out really good. Max Fumara on art, Dave Stewart on colors. It turned out really great, and it's like a look into the future. It's like most of it takes place 20 years in the future, and then or you think it is, and then you go back to regular day. That was a nice story. But the ones that first came to mind when you asked me that question are
Warlords. Oh, the Warlords of Appalachia. That one.
no, well, a couple others I was going to mention.
Yeah.
There's a Carnage story called Carnage Forever, just a one shot.
Oh,
And that is the story. It's after the events of my Extreme Carnage thing that I did. I wrote an Extreme Carnage book co-wrote it. It was like an 8-issue thing. They kind of had me show run it. So I wrote the first and last issues and kind of steered the direction for the rest of it. And that was written by other writers. But after that, there was a one shot called Carnage Forever. And it's just a story. It's like a haunted house story. When they asked me to do Carnage in the first place for the series, I just seen so many bloody, stabby Carnage books. I was like, how can we do this different? And I pitched them an idea for basically the Manchurian Candidate meets like the symbiote universe, where we see Carnage working his way up the food chain from like a fish in the ocean all the way to trying to become the president of the United States. And so a lot of it is very spy versus spy happening in Washington, D.C. And there's this, there are elements of the Manchurian Candidate in it and elements of all the president's men in it.
Nice.
Anyway, but after that, they asked me to do this one shot. And I'm like, what about Carnage meets The Exorcist? Like kind of an Exorcist style story.
That's Sonny's jam right there.
Yeah, I'm sold already.
It was really fun. And it
That
also is a story that
sounds
matters to me. It's about people that I know in real life. Not that I didn't put them on the page whole cloth,
Right.
but it's about these homeless tweakers just kind of squatting in this house and this little girl who has no business being in their care. And she, during the day while the parents are making meth or whatever, she goes off and plays in the ruins of that orphanage where Cletus Cassidy grew up.
Oh, okay.
And that's where Carnage goes to lick his wounds after the events of Extreme Carnage. So it's like this haunted house kind of story that gets super gnarly. I'm really proud of that book.
Very,
So
very
let's take
Sounds rad.
Carnage. And there's also I did a Marvel Zombies miniseries that turned out really great with
Okay.
Leonard Kirk.
Okay. That's a big seller at Marvel.
Oh, for
They
sure.
can't. I mean, it looks like they're trying to put the effort in, but it's hard. It seems like it's hard to keep that in stock because it sells. It sells year round, not just Halloween. It sells year round. That whole
Well, the
run.
one that I did, I'm not sure if the one I did is even still in circulation, but it was called, because it kind of got screwed by COVID. Like when it came out, it's called Marvel Zombies Resurrection.
Okay.
And there was like a one shot that came out like in November or something, and then there was a 1 through 4 that came out the following. Let me think. I can't remember when it was supposed to come out, but it got pushed back a little bit because of COVID, and then the paper shortages also kind of screwed it.
Oh, okay.
So, and also the content on the first page also kind of pushed it back because it was like the very first page. This is during COVID. This is like November 19, and then like March 2020 or something. And the first page is people running through Times Square in terror, and there's like zombies everywhere.
Oh no.
COVID zombies, right?
Yeah, dude.
That was poorly played on my part. So we held it back until summer, I think.
Okay.
And then it got the issues got staggered. The releases got staggered because of the paper shortages and shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't even know if it's out there still, but man, it was a lovingly told story. I mean, I was used to seeing Marvel Zombie stories that were pretty campy and kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is not what I read. So I asked if I could do one that was more like, I wanted to do like a Cormac McCarthy's Marvel Zombies.
Sure.
And I pitched it, and they were like, "Yeah, dude, do it." Like if you think,
Sweet.
they were like, if you think you can, do it.
Yeah.
And I
like,
told the story
game on.
about like the world after the zombies had taken over and like what that whole thing would look like. And you see a team led by Spider-Man,
Yeah.
and he's just trying to take care of he swore to take care of the Richards kids. So it's him with the Richards kids, and there's Forge is one of them.
Oh, sick.
And
wow.
Forge has been making these weapons out of the like recycled body parts of his dead friends. So he's got like this machine gun thing with the top half of Cyclops' face on the front.
Yes.
There's like this gauntlet thing that has like the flesh of Gambit's hand on it still.
Wow.
and he's wired up these things. So he's made these like superpower weapons out of mutant body parts. It's fun, man. Like there's Spider-Man has hot-wired a Sentinel as like a British nanny to take care of the Richards kids. So yeah,
That's
like
funny.
Spider-Man, the Richards kids, Sentinana, Goose, not Goose, sorry, the comic version of Goose, Chewie, the little cat, the Flurkin.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It was a fun team. And Spider-Man is like, it's not Spider-Man as we're used to seeing him. Spider-Man is usually he's all like fun and quippy, and now is like he's just scared all the time. He's trying to protect the kids all the time. So and his spider sense is going off literally around the clock.
Oh my god.
So he's got these headaches that are just killing him,
right. That's
So it's dark, but there's redemption in it, and it gets much more hopeful. And man, I'm so proud of that book. Yeah, if I had to name just one book for people to find that I think is probably kind of hard to find now, I would say Marvel Zombies Resurrection. I'm very proud of that story.
okay. Yeah. Challenge accepted. I will go and start hunting for it.
Brendan in our chat. Shout out everybody in the chat, by the way. Everyone's
been
been
going
so
crazy today.
great.
Chat's been active.
Everyone, as usual, loves PKJ and just everything you have to say.
That's right.
Brendan said PKJ's brain works differently than regular people, and Matthew says this is why PKJ is the GOAT.
Yeah.
Nanny, Sentinel, hotwired. Who
British
comes up
accent.
with that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's fun writing her dialogue too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
You
Well,
mentioned
thank you all very much. I'm not seeing. It's probably my own ignorance here. I'm not seeing the chat on here. So please, if there's any more questions from the chat, I'd love to answer.
I was
Anything
going
you've
to
got.
bring up one
Unless you
right
got
now.
time. I know you're paying for studio time, so if you need to get out
no.
of here, we can.
We're good.
Good. We got time.
There was a Vengeance had mentioned here in the chat. If you had mentioned repurposing mutant body parts in one of your previous stories. If you were to write an X-Men story, would you like it to be based on a singular character or some type of team up? Is there some type of idea out there if you were to do a potential X-Men story?
Oh, great question.
I would love to write ongoing Wolverine.
Oh,
Yeah, we'd love that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to yeah.
I'd like that.
That would be cool. That would be a cool pass down. Because Benjamin Percy, he's awesome, but it would be great to see you on there too.
It's great.
And-
Ben's a friend.
Yeah, Ben's been amazing.
This is the first. It's like probably the first time I mentioned that Wolverine thing. But I did kind of find myself thinking about there's a team book I want to do that I'm confident will happen. I got this like Nazi hang up. We've probably talked about it at some point.
Yeah.
We have.
There's this Inglorious Bastards. In fact, I think we talked about this very story on here.
Yeah.
We have. I remember
yeah,
that. We like an Inglorious Bastard style Marvel thing, and Logan's on that team.
Of course, that would be.
But it kind of got me thinking about the old Larry Hama Logan books and how cool that shit was. Like with him and with Adam Kubert drawing it. And man,
that stuff is getting collected too. Hardcover edition now. It's like
I didn't know that. That's cool. I'll have to pick that up. I had a lot of those issues.
We're volume 4 of the omnibus, and that's all the Hama era at this point. And I think there's a 5 coming out soon too this year.
Awesome.
So yeah, but
yeah, I had a lot of the Hama stuff. I remember there was one with like this vampire pirate dude that was really cool, and that went forward into other issues with God, what was after that? Eventually, it gets to the big showdown with Sabretooth that led into Age of Apocalypse, and then there was the thing where he reverts back to like the barbarian version of himself. Like there's I remember Adam Kubert drawing like this caveman looking Wolverine that had devolved. It was just a cool time. But anyway, I do have some stories, some like lost stories from yesteryear with Logan that I would love to tell. How did you guys feel about Wolverine's origin when it reveals him as James Howlett, as like the rich kid when he was like a little boy?
Well, I can tell you as like when I was younger, I think because I was still a kid when story was developing, or it may have already by the time I was old enough to like super get into it. But I wasn't super bothered by it, but I would imagine people who were like older and had been reading it for decades were like, what? Because I know how I feel about when someone's like, oh, we're going to explain Joker's origin. I'm like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. So the James Howlett thing for me is kind of like, It's not the most compelling version of that story, but I'm not too. I mean, Frank was probably reading it and had it like mapped out what he thought in his head of Wolverine. So how did you feel about it, Frank?
I didn't mind it. I don't mind all the different interpretations they've done, both with comics or within the films of what they've shown as far as a backstory to Wolverine.
Yeah.
I think that he's one of those characters he's got to internalize everything because he suffers loss because he goes through time not being able to, he can't be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
all your loved ones
he
continue to
experiences
die.
decades of loss. It's like that would be kind of a cool thing to see him being his story being told over the life of being within a team of mutants, not necessarily a whole large X-Men team, but more X-Force type size, and that they could he could experience an actual loss. I mean, that's the kind of thing is just that you feel for Logan,
Right.
over a certain period of time because he goes through so much.
Right. You're
Benjamin
rooting for
Percy
him.
does a great job, by the way.
He does. He's been phenomenal. I can't believe we're at issue 41.
Damn.
That just came out this week. And I remember starting at issue 1 with him back in 2019. So yeah, because it was him. It was Donny Cates with Thor #1, along with some others.
man.
That was when I first walked into Maximum
That's
Comics, Henderson, and walked in. And then just before that, it was then the pandemic happened, and I kind of felt, had to deal with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's been doing a phenomenal job on it, and that would be awesome to see you on that too. Yeah, it would be cool. Either that or like an X-Force book or Ghost Rider even.
Or killing Nazis.
So by the end of this podcast, Philip, you'll be writing every book for Marvel.
Covered
The
and
Last
every
of
book
Us.
for DC. Last of Us video game tie-in. So we know you don't want too much on your plate, but you've got it. So sorry.
Yeah, you kind of spoke.
I know
into
you,
existence.
you are kind of busy. Are you actually finding time to watch any of these shows like Echo that just came out? Are you?
I've not seen no. I'm hideously behind on all the Marvel shit.
You're
I
fine.
haven't-
That's fine.
You're not missing much.
It's okay.
A show that I usually when I watch anything, like I never watch anything not over the bell of my trumpet. like it's the only TV time I get is on on this computer in this room with headphones in, subtitles on, playing my horn because I need to practice. And so this only like mindless kind of things like just like little exercise, like calisthenics type practicing. So I'll put something on and just kind of catch the story as well I can. But sometimes I'll do it too in front of like I'll do some cardio or something.
Right.
And like I've got a bike and a treadmill set up in front of the TV, and I don't have any time to just like sit and watch, but I'll just kind of inch my way through shit.
Sure.
Right.
While I'm like, I'll eat something, I'll watch 15 minutes of something, then I'll watch while I'm running, or I'll.
Right.
So I'm watching a show called Bodies that I really like so far. I've only just started it. God, what else have I read? What have I watched recently? I just got through Sandman.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Nice.
Sandman's good.
I watched that forever, and I loved it. I mean, I really loved that show. Shit, what else? I've been watching Ahsoka with my son. That's been cool.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay.
just here and there. I try to carve out a little time.
Paul loves Ahsoka.
I
You love Ahsoka.
I mean, it's fine. I think it relies a little too heavily on the cartoon, but I enjoyed it.
There was a lot of homework that I had to do before.
Yeah, exactly.
I never watched Clone Wars. I never watched Rebels.
Oh man.
But I knew, just from the trailers, I saw all these characters. I was like, fuck, I know who these guys are from the goddamn cartoons. And I watched all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I kind of went through all the descriptions and found the ones that I knew I really needed to see to get it.
That's what a lot of people did.
They had a list of bare bones episodes on Disney Plus. Like, here's what to watch to catch up on Ahsoka, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
So I went through and found the other ones too. They introduced various characters. So he and I watched those over the course of like months.
Oh man, very cool though.
Picked one out here and there. We got through them, and so now we're actually watching the show.
Nice.
I'm glad I did it that way though, because it bothers me if they introduce these characters and we're not invested in them at all. That's just the worst.
Sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did with Echo, because not a whole lot of people are invested. I mean,
That show was rough.
yeah, I mean, I
Not
watched.
good?
Did you finish it?
I finished it.
Did you finish it?
I did four of the 5 episodes.
Oof.
I didn't even watch the last one. It's just
Sucks
it
pretty
needs
bad.
to.
I thought it was okay.
It's one. Well, it's falls victim to most of the Disney Plus stuff. It's just the pacing is off.
Pacing's off.
Very
Character development
slow.
is very off.
Right. I mean, some of the fight scenes were great.
Oh, dude.
The fight scenes are really great. So
The
like.
intro to Daredevil was definitely the
Right,
coolest.
I was like, that's what was the hook. That was
Yeah.
like, because that was like, okay, let me watch this, and then it went back to like her origin, which is I can appreciate. It was a cool story, but the pacing was just so slow, and then episodes 3 and 4 pick up,
Yeah.
and then I haven't watched the 5th one. I'll probably go ahead and watch the 5th one just because I've already
Might
watched
as
all
well.
4.
Yeah.
But I kind of do the same thing that you do, Philip. I just I'll put it on, and then as I'm watching, I'll sort
doing something else.
Yeah, I'll sort my comics, or I'll put stuff away, just so I'm paying attention. And then when it gets really interesting, I'll
and then
hone
you
in.
invest back in.
Yeah, I'll hone in, just because it's just you got to make judicial use
It's
of your
hard.
time.
I
It's
mean,
hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, y'all know I suck at watching TV shows. So.
Yeah, you're the worst.
But you love Ahsoka though. It's all good. You love that Ahsoka.
no, it doesn't.
Phil,
Sometimes there's a show that demands respect, and
Right.
I really try to. Like whenever I'm watching something with my son,
Yeah.
sometimes we'll eat, or like we might do it while we're eating dinner or something sometimes, but
Right.
typically we'll just like sit and watch the thing. And when he's there too, I try to be present.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if it's just me trying to catch up, just kind of like catching up on what the state of the art is, or just to be part of the zeitgeist of a certain thing. And I just need I owe it to myself as a storyteller to know the thing. I'll kind of do it as I'm multitasking. I'm folding laundry or running or something.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
we appreciate you as a storyteller, and every time you
Absolutely.
come on, man, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And we really do appreciate you taking time to hang out with us. We know
Absolutely.
you're entering
It's a
into your
pleasure.
sleepy
It really
time.
is. I got miles to go before I sleep over here. I got lots to do.
Yeah.
How do we
but
get
yeah,
at you in the
saying
social
that-
world?
So, what's that?
How do we find you in the social world? How does everybody find you there in the social worlds?
I'm on, let's see. I'm on most places at Phillip K. Johnson, I believe. 2 L's in Phillip. So like at Twitter and all the little, everything, the things that Twitter became after it exploded.
Sure.
Twitter X Threads.
Twitter, Blue Sky, and Threads. I'm on at Phillip K. Johnson. I'm under Facebook under my full name. Instagram, I think, is also Phillip K. Johnson.
Yeah,
I got a
Phillip.
website, phillipkennedyjohnson.com, where I try to keep my stuff updated. Yeah, just reach out to me whenever.
Awesome.
It's my favorite. I love
And
when,
I'm gonna leave you guys with a few little teases of some. You guys have been very supportive of my Hulk book, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Absolutely.
Here are the names of some upcoming creatures that we're gonna see Hulk face.
Oh yes, this is my favorite part.
Just names, all right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Frozen Charlotte,
Ooh.
Okay.
Brother Voodoo, who you
Oh,
should
Brother
know.
Voodoo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're a
All
fan.
right.
Yeah, the Skin Cult. Patchwork Jack, and Sudungaru the Flesh Weaver.
Not the wow. Okay. All right. Sold. I was already sold.
Yeah, but
Right.
still.
Okay.
But sold again.
I can't wait. Yeah, that's gonna be great. And Brother Voodoo.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you
Yeah.
lit up
Doctor
with that.
Voodoo,
Yeah.
also known as Brother
Brother
Voodoo.
Voodoo's cool, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's been great. Because I don't think he's been used outside of maybe Strange Academy with Scotty Young.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
the last time we've seen him actually in a modern comic. So that'll be cool to see him again.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be super dope.
The Frozen Charlotte story takes place in New Orleans.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Okay.
I love
Sick.
this. I love that they're backpacking across America.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
New Orleans is gonna be fun.
So who does he run into in Vegas?
Oh.
Oh.
Oh man, that would be a legit spoiler
Oh,
because
okay,
that
okay.
really. I've been trying to make the book, trying to give it a lot of jumping on, like just constant jumping on points, tons of new monsters and stuff. I want people to jump on and like just be able to read from wherever they are,
Mhm.
like just constantly introducing new monsters and new characters, and I don't want the overarching story, like the umbrella thing with the Mother of Horrors and Eldest to be like a crucial part of every issue. So we have little teases, like we see Hulk and Charlie and Banner's relationships kind of go forward, incrementally, story to story. But I don't want it to feel like a season of TV where if you miss an episode, you're screwed.
Right.
Right.
I want people to be able to jump in anywhere. Like that Blacklash story. That was a one and done. Like you just jump in, you have a story, it's over. Or like the old the Marvel team up books when I was a kid. I learned almost everything I know about Marvel from those old team up stories, where Spider-Man teams up with some no name or sometimes big names. Sometimes you'd see him with Doctor Strange and then Ghost Rider and somebody I'd never heard of, just one member of the Fantastic Four or
the
I don't
Marvel
know,
2
a really
in
cool way
ones.
in. So I'm trying to treat this Hulk story kind of the same way, where Hulk will team up with somebody cool or face somebody cool or face somebody new.
Right.
Been a way to kind of introduce readers to the monstrous side of the Marvel U, but also to flesh out the Marvel bestiary too. And give them more toys to play with.
Kind of like the Marvel 2 in 1 stuff, like Hulk versus the Thing and those stories. Those were a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you get to Vegas, there's a chapter happening in Vegas that is super consequential to the whole story.
Okay.
So
All right.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, we're game.
Sonny, what do you got for the people?
I'm just super grateful PKJ came on. The chat has been going crazy this entire
Still.
time still. So shout out to everybody in there. We just really appreciate you over here, brother.
Yeah.
well, me too. I'm sorry for any questions I didn't get to on here.
There's always next time,
You're
bro.
the best, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, we hope there's going to be another time.
Always,
keep coming
We'll do
on,
it. We'll do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, watch the characters closely in the Vegas story too.
We'll do.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Say no more.
Yeah.
Paul, how do they find us in the social universe of Las
You
Vegas?
find us in the social universe of Las Vegas at Into the West Comics on Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Apple Pods, Into the West Comics, TikTok, and then at @into_comics on Twitter. And we'll be sharing clips from this with PKJ, some of the more poignant things he brought up. But this was, as always, a lot of fun, and we're always so grateful that you're so available, even though we know you're busy as hell. And it's just very, very exciting to always have you on, and just especially you're a nerd like us, so it's fun to just nerd out, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. My favorite show.
Thanks,
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
We thank Phillip Kennedy Johnson for hanging out with us tonight. Shout out to Dre and Cam. They're hanging out in studio. Thank you to Quan, our amazing producer. We love you.
Thanks, Quan.
And have a great night. And it's taco time in America.
I was waiting for it.
Let's say go get some tacos. That place is dope.
Yeah.
That's right.
You remember it. That's good.
Thank you, Phil. We appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate you, brother.
We'll talk to you
man.
later. Have a good night.
See you next week, y'all.
Yep. Don't trickle in.